Hello and welcome to another episode of Tiksu to UniTartu. Today I'm joined by Ellen and Laura, and we're going to be talking about the work-life balance and how our studies go in day-to-day at the University of Tartu. So, would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Ellen, and I'm a fourth-year medical student, and I'm studying here in Tartu in the International Medical Program with Laura. I'm 24 years old. I'm originally from Helsinki, and yeah.
How did you find your way to Estonia? We usually like to ask that people that come here.
Well, for me, I was finishing my last year of school, and I kind of knew that I wanted to go to medicine, but I was a bit unsure of like where I wanted to study. I speak Swedish. That's my mother language. So then I was really like thinking of like I would study somewhere in the Nordic countries, but then at the same time I also started looking into like other countries, so Estonia and Latvia as well. And then after I finished school, I had a gap year, and that's when I really like applied everywhere essentially. Yeah. And then I got accepted here, and then I got accepted to Denmark as well, and I was kind of like in between. But then I'd heard really great things about Tartu. We had one of our family friends, he'd worked here for a long time, so then I decided to come here, and I've been really happy with that.
I think you made the right choice.
Yes, so do I. I'm very happy.
And Laura, would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name's Laura, goes without being said. It was said already twice. But I am Estonian actually, but I lived in England for 11 years of my life. And then after those 11 years, I came back. Well, for the first 10 years, I actually lived here, and then 11 years in England, and then I came back. And I'm also a fourth-year medical student and in the international program. And the reason I guess that I decided to come back is for the longest time, I knew that I wanted to like study medicine already when I was at school. But when I applied in England, I didn't end up getting in when I first applied. So then I decided that I would study biomedical sciences, which I did for 3 years in England. So I have my bachelor's degree from there. And then after I finished, I applied to a master's program in England. And then I also applied here because I kind of didn't want to give up on that dream of studying medicine and becoming a doctor eventually. Yeah. So I got in here and I got in England as well. And I felt like this was the right place to come to and the right thing to do. So I ended up coming back here, and I definitely think that it was the right decision to make.
Definitely. And I'm glad we have two medical students because I don't know a lot about the program. And also when we're talking about work-life balance, I feel like you guys really need to be able to strike that up. So maybe you guys could tell me a little bit about your day-to-day, whichever one of you wants to start.
So I'll start off by saying that we live together. Yes. So a lot of our daily routines tend to be quite similar.
Oh, great. Yeah.
But we usually, at the beginning of usually towards the morning, especially in fourth year, we have our classes these days. Back in maybe first, second and third year, we would have really, really long school days. And it would be from like 8 till 6 or so on. Of course, with like breaks and stuff in between as well. But especially these days, we usually have morning classes from like 9 until about 12 or something like that. And then thereafter, we usually go to the library and study there for a little bit, study the things that we've covered during the day in our classes and also ahead for the next day's classes.
And I feel like after the library, we head home like still like somewhat early, like not until super late. And then we usually cook dinner together, and then we may like usually work out, either go on runs or to the gym. And then we try to also incorporate like some social life every day. So like we see our friends. In Tartu, it's really easy because we all live super close to each other. So like someone will come over. Our apartment, I feel like, is like a designated hangout spot. So like there's always someone coming over. So
I think that's actually really important, or what we've realized is really important over these 4 years, to do something that's also nice every day or something that's fun. Because I feel like our studies can get really heavy. So it's really good to have something to kind of look forward to every day as well.
Definitely.
And one thing I guess I'll add is because I also work alongside my studies part-time, so I usually do night shifts. So depending on the day, after we then study and go to the library or whatever, then either if I have to work, then I'll obviously go to work, and then I'll work the night. And
and then I'll be home alone. So sad.
So approximately, maybe we can quantify it a little bit. Like how many hours would you say you spend on your studies per week?
Okay, per week, probably, I'd say on average, like these days, it comes to around 5 hours per day. So then it ends up being...
And that's just classes, right?
That's, I would say, like probably independent study.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
like with classes, it's very, of course, like, okay, so it depends very much also on the day, like how much time we have, and whether I'm working or not, and whether we have other things planned. But like we tried to calculate this before, and I think we'd both say like on an average probably 5 hours outside of school, so per day. But then of course there are days when it's like close to exams when we'll study a lot more. But there are days that we also do a lot less. Like for example, like this week when it's the student days and like things like that, we'll definitely probably study a lot less. So it's very dependent also on like kind of what's going on in our like lives at the moment.
And I think it's also important, like sometimes we'll just like take weekends out that we don't study at all. Like you'll take Saturday off completely and you won't study. I feel like that's also really important for like your mental well-being as well, that it's like some days are more intense.
For sure.
And I think also it's kind of changed, to be fair, because I feel like during our preclinical phases, so okay, basically our studies are like we have preclinicals where it's more theory based, and then we have the clinical phase where you're in the hospital environment and you study like more the clinical subjects. And I feel like in the preclinical phase we had like tons of different subjects, like 7 subjects at a time. So you had a lot more like in contact, but also independent learning to be done. But now we usually get to actually focus on like one thing at a time. Sometimes they overlap, but it's like you have in that sense like less subjects at a time to study. So I think that's also why it is a little bit less now than it was when we first came here.
Yeah, and I really like the tip that you gave, like have something fun to kind of do on the side. But I was wondering, do you guys have any other like really good tips that you use to keep yourselves organized?
Definitely. I think we can talk about this also from like different perspectives. I'm a very type A personality, and I'm a very type B personality. So these are also the things that we do, I guess, are very different. But
sounds like you guys like bounce off each other a little bit too.
I think, which is very good. We complement each other.
We're very compatible.
That's a better way to put it. Yeah, definitely.
But I guess what I would say from like the way that my organizational, logical kind of brain works is that at the start of every semester, I basically put into my calendar like all of the important dates for all of our subjects. So I write down all of the tests that we have, all of the presentations we have to do. So I know ahead of time like what's coming up. So it doesn't like happen so that like a week before the test, I'm like, oh shit. Well, like, you know, this is what I got to do. Like I actually know ahead of time and I can prepare in time for those things as well. Then I guess like also on a daily basis, like I usually like to write a list of things that I have to do. So I know like every day what I'm trying to get through. And I try to like, if there's big things, like big subjects, I try to chunk it up. So it isn't like I have to like tackle everything at once as well. I think that's really helped me. And yeah, I guess kind of like just like trying to also remember that you don't have to do everything at once, and that there is time. It usually feels a lot like there isn't, and that is very overwhelming. And
I feel like I'm not as much of a list maker like Laura because I am a type B personality.
You just look off her list.
Yeah, I know, literally. It's like every day I'm like, wait, what do we have today? But no, I feel like I have also like changed my habits a little bit. And what I've noticed that what also really works for me is that even if I don't write every single thing down, but the fact that I write down things that I have, like I need to get done, and then I can mark them off. So I also, because I feel like it's very normal, especially when you study medicine, that you feel like you're in this constant loop of like, I have so much to do and I feel like I'm constantly studying, but I haven't done anything. But if you have like a checklist where you also mark the things you've done, you can also see that, oh my God, I've actually done so much. And then you feel a little better about yourself. Like, even though you see that the like to-do list is still very long, but you've also seen that I've actually accomplished something. So I feel like that's actually also like been like kind of good. And you feel
it feels really nice when you can check one thing off
exactly.
or do something else like that. I wanted to figure out, do you guys use any like specific apps or maybe, I don't know, like a specific checklist that you'd want to like tell the listeners that they might want to use?
Honestly, the reminders on the Apple like phone, app, the reminders thing, I think is so good. That's usually what I use. But I don't know, Ellen, do you have any?
I also use the like Apple ones and the Apple calendar as well. And you can do different colors. So I've chosen like pink is for the fun things that I plan. So that's like, that's something, it's good. And like blue is cool because sometimes that's a bit blue. So,
Do you guys think you've ever like had any experiences where you've been overwhelmed or maybe made some mistakes that you can think of that, maybe you wish you would have avoided, or something you would have known that before you started your studies that might help somebody else?
Definitely, like we're kind of thinking back that where we have like started like studying all over again, what are things that we would have done differently?
Yeah.
And I guess like, again, like it was a bit different, like our opinions on this, but like for me, it was very much when I came into this, I had just come from finishing my degree in England, and it was the last year and a half of it was during COVID time. So it was very, very full on studying. And in England, like we couldn't leave our house. Like quarantine was like very full on. Like you couldn't go anywhere. You just stayed in. And basically because I was in my final year, had my dissertation to write. So all I was doing was basically studying. And I think because that was my first like final year in England before coming here, that's kind of the mindset that I took with me into my first year here. And I think looking back now, in first year, I was very focused on trying to stay on top of everything and like studying all the time. But I don't think that was probably like the healthiest thing actually for me. And you kind of like lose yourself a little bit in that. And it's very easy to become like very overwhelmed, I guess.
Are you saying you needed to try to find the balance?
Would you have, Laura, needed to listen to this podcast episode, perhaps?
I think so. Actually, it probably would have really helped.
And what about you, Ellen?
I do think also, like, for me, when I came here, it was my first time moving like from home. I was also moving abroad to a country that I did not speak the language of, and like it was a lot of very overwhelming things. And of course also the fact that I'd never studied at university. I came like I had a gap year, but like before that it was just school. So I do remember in first year I was like, wow, okay. I feel like the whole first year was just essentially figuring out like what works for you and what doesn't.
Absolutely.
And I do think that I noticed like I did do a lot of mistakes, I guess, but I feel like that's also the way you learn. Like, honestly, like figure out your study technique. You kind of have to try what works and what doesn't. And I feel like I tried to do everything so like properly and in detail because I was so afraid that if I didn't know everything, I wouldn't know anything, basically. Poor explanation, but I feel like I just like, that's one thing that I feel like I've definitely learned where it's like zoom out a little bit and like you don't need to go in every single thing in so much detail.
Yeah. Do you feel like your program might have given you, or there's any resources at UT that like gave you a little bit more leeway in terms of that, like when you first got here, like trying to find that balance? Do you think they were able to help you out through your program?
Oh, definitely. Like, I feel like because we had peer tutors, and they really like took us in when we came here and gave us like lots of tips on how to navigate in Tartu. And actually, also we ended up doing peer tutoring. I feel like also like because of that slightly. Definitely. So we were like then later.
Oh, you guys are the experts. Then.
So I do feel like our peer tutors, especially in first year, were like a great help. But I also think the university, like especially when it came to like studying, I feel like in the medical program itself, like you could for anatomy, for example, we had like this anatomy class that you could go into and study with like other other students and get some support from each other.
And I think for each of our courses, they always give us like a lot of information, but they do always say on like, for example, the Moodle page or like the page where all of our study materials are, like which parts of that are essential and which parts of that are extra information. So I think that's also actually very useful. Like if you have time and if you're interested, they always say like, go through these things. If this is something that you think that like will interest you in the future and is something that you would want to go into, then do more and like, read those things. But if it's also not, like that's also okay because we're not all going to end up specializing in the same thing or going into the same like area. So I think that also helps like kind of make you feel like you don't have to do everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Ellen, I know you mentioned that you were coming to a country for the first time, and that's probably what a lot of students are feeling exactly the same. Did you experience any culture shocks, maybe, or were there a few things that were a little bit different from where you're from?
Well, I'm from Finland, so
not too far. Yeah,
it's not too far. People are in the there are a lot of similarities, but I guess also because I am from like the Swedish-speaking minority, so which are known for being quite like talkative and quite extroverted. Like we're still like from the Nordics, so obviously nothing compared to the United States. But still, I feel like I remember when I came here, that is something that I found a bit surprising, and also I guess maybe the fact that like the introvertness of Estonians, but I also, to be fair, it's something that I really enjoy here because I feel like Estonians, much like Finns, they're very like loyal people. So at first you might feel like it's really hard to like crack that like hard shell, but when you get under, like then you're in for good. So it's like pros and cons. But luckily also here, especially in the international medical students, like we have a really tight-knit group of people and people who come from all over the place and all over the world. And I feel like you really can also like kind of relate and find support in other people in that. Yeah. So nothing was like too daunting. Yeah. Like everything and like everything has been very lovely also. So it's all good.
Great. And I know you're not necessarily a foreigner, but you were a lightweight for a while, and your energy is a little bit different than most Estonians, I could tell. But what were some culture shocks maybe you experienced coming back to Estonia?
I think actually, like one of the biggest things when I first came back, which I was so not used to again, is the weather.
Classic.
Because for like 11 years, the winters of my life in England were pretty nice. Like it was not this cold. Like it was quite like, humid. Like it rains a lot, as it always does in England. But it wasn't like snowstorms and blizzards and things like that. But I guess also that's something that I've kind of learned to appreciate, like about Northern Europe as well. You get the very extremes of every season. And I think you kind of appreciate like maybe the summer months more and the lightness more, and like that's also it's quite nice, I think, actually now.
Absolutely. So I mean, you guys talked a lot about taking time for yourself, outside of your work and school. What are some of your favorite places in Tartu to maybe unwind?
Ooh, well, for me personally, of course, like our shared home is a really important place to unwind. But I also, because I'm such an extrovert, I really enjoy like every situation where also you get to meet people and see your friends. So like a very special place to me, I feel like, is anywhere along the river, because I feel like that's kind of like the heart of Tartu. So especially like the stairs. I don't know if you've been at the Delta stairs or the newer ones. Exactly. So I feel like those are like, whether it's like you grab a book and you go and read, or you meet up with your friends, or you grab a mojito from like Cuba, which is our favorite place. Like it's like a place where everyone comes together, and I feel like that has a very special like vibe to it.
Yeah, I do really like when you go, especially like you said, along the riverside. You're gonna see your classmates, you're gonna see people even if you just took one friend out, at the end of the night you end up with 6 friends.
Definitely.
So I definitely really like that. And how about yourself, Laura?
I would say also, like, I guess two different places, but I want to definitely say along the river, because we sit there, but we also kind of walk up and down the river pretty much. And it's quite nice. It feels kind of like you're getting out of the city. Like when you go quite far, like whether you go up or down, it's like a completely different, I guess, mindset that you get. You kind of feels like you're like, just in the middle of nowhere. And you get to kind of clear your head and everything. But the other thing that I wanted to kind of come back to is, of course, like our home, because I guess I'm definitely more introverted out of the two of us. And I really like to like also like take kind of time for myself and like unwind and relax. Like I need to like time to process things. But then in our home, even when our friends are there and when there's other people there, it still feels very much like, I don't know, I can just like completely be myself and like fully like relax. And we basically always have people around. I think we haven't had like a night in for the two of us in quite a long time. But it feels also like it's kind of like everyone's home.
Exactly.
It's really nice.
It's our doorbell is always like, one time I remember we had like I thought it was Laura coming home, so I just like bust someone in. Then literally 3 of our friends, I did not even know they were gonna come, and they just show up. So it's like,
so tip, find yourself a good roommate.
Yes, definitely,
Exactly.
definitely.
Well, I guess that's my tip. I didn't steal it from you guys. What would you guys say is your number one tip for somebody coming here? I know we've been just hitting them off with tips, but maybe your number one for somebody coming to Tartu for the first time. Maybe Laura, you could hit us with it.
I would say that like try to immerse yourself in like as many things as possible. Like try like everything. If there's like events going on, like student days, things like that, like take part in as much things as you can. Like it can seem like really nerve-wracking and daunting at first and scary, because I'm not also the most extroverted person, and like going somewhere there like on my own would seem kind of scary, but everyone is so friendly. Like you will meet people on the street that will start talking to you, and like I think that's like kind of like the best thing about living in like a student city. So definitely I think social events, immerse yourself in. It's also a lot of like academic groups that you can at least I think in every area of study. I know that definitely I've seen a lot in ours, but I think they have them in every like other subject as well. Like I would say try all of them as well. Like I think that's such a good way to figure out what you like and like meet new people and just like experience new things. So I think my actual major tip would be just to like try everything.
I would say for myself, the ESN, the Erasmus Student Network events are really great. It's mostly going to be international people, but Estonians do show up, and everybody's super, super willing to, just go out of their comfort zone and, add you on Facebook or whatever and meet up. So I've met so many really good friends just from, putting myself out there a little bit and trying to be a little bit more outgoing.
We've been to their karaoke nights as well. It's
That's
very
so fun.
Me too.
We've enjoyed it. But I also it's even like within the medical faculty, we have like an international like student association, and that's also one thing I guess for all like international medical students that are going to come here. I really highly recommend joining that, or the AIUS, which is the Estonian side one, because that's also like I think a really great way to like meet lots of new people, and they have really fun events and also informative events for those who are interested. So that's also good.
Yeah,
definitely.
Awesome. Great. So as we're winding down here, guys, we're running out a little bit of time. I wanted to ask maybe something that you would recommend that anybody try from Estonia, whether it be food, whether it be a media. Do you guys have something you found here in Estonia that you're probably going to try to take back to your home country? I know you're from you're from Estonia, but if you were to go back to, show your friends in England, what would you take? What would you tell them to do?
Oh, okay. I guess, I can think of like two things off the top of my head right now. I think there's certain types of food that are really nice, especially in the summer, like all of the grill food and things like that. I think that's definitely something that's very Estonian and something that I would recommend for everyone to try. Like we're literally, I think hopefully this week at some point on the 1st of May gonna have a barbecue.
Yes.
And like the food that they sell in the supermarket, the meat for like grill and stuff is really, really good.
Just the grilling culture. I love just like being out the open grill. You got the grates,
Definitely.
it's really a good time.
Definitely. So, And the second thing I was going to say is like last week as part of the student days as well, they had this like night singing festival. I guess that's how you would translate
the
it.
student song festival.
Yes, festival.
Yeah.
So that's it. Exactly. It's like a really big
I was there.
So were we.
And it's like a really big thing in Estonia that they have, I'm pretty sure every 4 years, if I'm not mistaken, like the official kind of song song festival. Is that what it's called?
I think they do a smaller one every year, and it's fun because some of the student groups, they'll put together performances, and you'll see students with their bands and whatnot.
Exactly.
It's a great time, and you'll sing some of the national songs will come up, and you feel it like in your heart a little bit. Yeah.
And
Genuinely.
like, even though like I feel like, because obviously I'm Estonian, so I know a lot of the songs, but I think even you would say that like you like really like it's very like even like just the Estonian music, like it's very nice when you actually get to
like the community and the presence. Like it's a very powerful thing, and also it's so unique because even though like Finland and Sweden are very like similar to Estonia, but that's something I feel like it's completely unique to here. Like you don't have like this like singing culture really anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, like with the history, it's a little bit more. It's like the singing revolution. It's the way they became independent. So it's a very ingrained now into the society and the culture. It's really great.
You can really feel it. Also, I have to say that one of my pro tips that if you're in Estonia, what you have to try, this is incredibly niche, but it's a food thing. So if you're here, you have to try the kohupiim Christmas version. Like kohupiim in general, everyone has to try that comes here, but especially the Christmas version.
What is it?
It's you've never tried it.
I've never tried a kohupiim.
Oh, Vincent, that's next Christmas. Christmas you have to try.
All right, well, you guys better invite me over then.
Exactly.
Definitely.
We'll have a kohupiim party. But it's like a thicker yogurt, and then it's like Christmas flavored, so it's like cinnamon and everything, and it's so good.
I think it's quark or something in English. Like it's like Quark.
Maybe.
I think something
Like
like that.
that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That is a must do.
Okay. So thank you guys so much for being here. I really had a great time talking with you. And this has been Tiksu to UniTartu. Thank you.